another week, another game night. The Bears are back and they're out of sight. Bad calls, bad luck, it's a weekly sight. Tune in to another bad call, let's make it right. No, it's another bad call, it shows the name. Breaking down the plays, the blame and the shame. From Soldier Field to the NFL's domain. We're here to talk it out again and again. Another bad call, it shows the name. Breaking down the plays, the blame and the shame. From Soldier Field to the NFL's domain. We're here to talk it out again and again. Again and again. Again and again. Yo, yo.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Bad Call, the podcast that proves the refs aren't the only ones who get it wrong. It is Monday, November 11th. And before we get into anything else, happy Veterans Day to everybody. To all you veterans out there, thank you so much for everything that you have done and continue to do. It's greatly appreciated. It's what allows us, two idiots, to sit here and bitch and moan about all the sports teams we follow.
For sure, for sure. Yeah,
Definitely doing
keep
something a
it
little bit different.
moving.
We're going live in the afternoon. Decided it's a whole lot better right now to get this thing out of the way when Monday Night Football is not going on. As we continue to try to figure this out. Before we get into anything else, please make sure to hit that like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever it is that helps us out. Comments down below really helps us out. It's free and we greatly appreciate it. That out of the way. Aside from the game, how are you doing today?
I don't know. It was a busy weekend. I was hoping that game would at least not, crush my soul the way that it did. Uh, but that little intro you had up there at the beginning, that's my first time uh hearing that, and it fits in with the theme of the show because it was pretty awful.
Yeah. First off, Fire Fam, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so that intro screen, if you missed it, you'll see it on the thumbnail later. It is a defeated Chicago Bear, or Bear as it was, laying in a steaming pile of New England clam chowder, because that is what happened. So let's just go ahead and get straight into it. Bears lose 19-13 at home to the Patriots. I mean, 1-14 on third down, 2 of 4 on fourth down, 142 yards of total offense. Right? 69 yards passing, 73 on the ground. And this was against a 2-7 team in the New England Patriots. They had 16 sacks coming into the game. 16 through 9 games. They had 16 sacks. They got 9 more yesterday. Add into that, the Bears have only scored 27 points in the last 3 games. There's just so many issues. I mean, I guess, I've got it here. Where do we want to start? But I guess we really need to start with accountability, because we keep hearing it, right? So let's start with a big one. Let's start with the coaches. I had a clip from Caleb's press conference where he tried to deny that it was the coaches being on the coaches. And I don't know if it's personality or if it's just him trying to hide, but there's a lot of all the way through his answers when it comes to the play calling and what's going on with the offense. Is it just him, or is he not wanting to throw his coaches under the bus? What do you think?
No, it's not just him. I mean, there's a clip yesterday from the locker room. Somebody asked Kevin Byard if the coaches had lost the locker room, and his basic response was, I'm not going there. But that's the kind of answer that says more than what you hear. So, yeah, there's the accountability. There's players all over the league who or players all over this team who have called out the lack of effort during the week amongst teams, and the coaches not holding people accountable. Last week it was Cole Kmet saying that. This morning you heard some of that from DJ Moore. The coaches have certainly lost the locker room, and it's evident in the fact how these last 2 weeks went, right? Like,
Yep.
it's one thing they didn't come out of the bye firing well at all, but they fought back
Right.
in that game. They took the lead in the fourth quarter. Everything but the fail Barry went, you know, you could have built on that. That ending wasn't what you wanted or needed, but the way the team came out last week and then again this week shows you that this coaching staff doesn't have it in them to circle the wagons and get the team back on track.
Yeah, you got to wonder how much that the failberry, as it was, is having a lasting impact, right? Was that a final straw thing? Was it just, same old Bears mentality that is now stuck with you, or what it is? But I mean, it started before that game happened. Really, as you mentioned, you come out of the bye and you're just, I mean, you're crapping the bed, for lack of a better term.
The Bears are the only team in the NFL that has not scored first in a game this season. They only have 10 points total in the first quarter of now 9 games.
Yep.
So, they're they just are not, they don't plan well coming out of the gate. The game plan isn't good and they're not prepared. And as much as, yes, the players are going to, they need to be held accountable for what's going on. And look, Caleb's not playing well. But I think that we've seen enough we have seen enough from him that it's there. So at this point, it's on the coaches to be able to put him in those spots, right? And yes, we have offensive line injury issues, and I thought about putting Nate Davis as my bad call of the week, but I don't even want to waste time on that piece of crap. So
Yeah. I mean, so first of all, again, Fire Fam, thanks for participating. Really appreciate you. Commented, he's definitely trying to keep his job by protecting the coaches. I mean, the good news is I don't think he's in any danger of losing his job unless somebody comes in and says, "Listen, you're going to get him killed. Let's save him for next year." Like, I think that's probably the only way he's going to lose his job, right? By protection of injury or anything like that. But I mean, he's doing everything he can to an extent. He played like garbage yesterday. There's no mincing words about that. He had some throws that were just terrible yesterday. I mean, they were some bad throws yesterday. Easy ones, short ones.
I've seen some stuff here as I I don't know, it just make us gluttons for punishment that we just keep going through this crap and reading it, and it just doesn't get any better. But there was some sentiment that Fields kind of got scared into conservatism by this coaching staff, into
Right, because
being afraid of making a mistake. And
they don't
then
want to throw picks, so
you saw some
protect
of
it too
that
much. Yep.
with Bajent towards the end of his starting stint, right? At the beginning of when he was starting last year, he was wild and free, but then they kind of started reining him in a bit. And now the same thing we go through with Caleb. You gotta, especially with a young quarterback, you have to let them continue to test those limits of throws that you can make. Um, Turnovers aren't good, but that's how they're going to learn where they can fit what windows they can
Right.
throw
That
into.
that that window or the throwing lanes. It's really important to figure that out. Now, I get all that, and I totally agree. I think there is something to be said for that. Some of those throws yesterday, though, like I'm talking the 5-yard outs to DJ or to Cole. There was another one to Keenan where I mean it was way off. Probably 3-4 yards short. Like I get, okay, you missed by a yard or two, whatever. Maybe you can argue that the receiver, the tight end at that point in time, has to make a play on it, but you didn't even give him a chance on it. So, yeah, a lot of that is on coaches too. Like I said, I mean, putting their players in the right position, and then you have to let them play free to an extent, right? Part of what made Caleb Williams such a special prospect coming out is his ability to be that the artist, if you will, along with that surgeon. But he needs that freedom to do so, and when you take that away from it, you know, he's not special anymore. But let's look at the players really quick. You touched on it a little bit. Swift comes out this morning or during the pushback press conference, which we'll get to that in a minute. And he said that they need to have more intention on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which I thought was really interesting because it makes it sound like some players and maybe some coaches aren't putting in their best effort during the week, which you and I have both coached. We've both been involved in athletics, and anybody knows what you practice is typically what shows up on the field, right? On game day. There are those special instances where people don't have to practice real hard and they can just go out and be special, but that's a rare thing, especially when you're talking about a team sport. TJ Edwards and Swift both made it a point to talk about how the players have to execute. That goes back to practice for me. They talk about how they are paid to make plays just like the other NFL caliber talent that's on the other side of the field. I'm not really sure what to make of it all, but I love that the players are at least owning up to their issues. Be really nice to hear some of that from the coaches at this point in time. But at least the players are taking accountability in front of the mic. I'm not seeing that same level of intensity when they're on the field, personally. This last game, the whole team looked flat from the get-go. But
yeah, I don't know that, even the fact that it was the Patriots or whatever, this
it's an
team
NFL football team.
Doesn't have a margin for error. And as much as we've seen Gerard Mayo not make the best decisions with his team and whatnot, they're at least those you see those players out there going for it, right?
Yep.
Like they have that team has not thrown in the towel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really with the players at this point, they've said enough out in the media that you don't see from a team that's got a good culture and a good respect for their coaches. So and the fear is that you're going to do kind of irreparable damage at this point if you don't make some changes.
Yep.
And
all right, that's our segue.
When asked about what kind of changes will be made in the press conference, Eberflus doesn't give a freaking answer. Oh, we got to pull it together. We're putting all our heads together. I believe it. I can see it in these players. Blah blah blah. Quit talking. If you're not going to give him an answer, quit talking. That's all I got to say. He's just.
You started the segue, jumped over the segue, came back. So we'll go into that. So the Bears announced that there will be changes, but have not announced any changes to this point. 3:45 p.m. Basically on Monday. Listen, I have preached patience and continuity from the start with this. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Seeing Flus even show up at the podium after they pushed the press conference back today was a little infuriating. I mean, so at this point in time, what changes are really going to make a real difference at this point in time? So I'll pose it to you like this. Do you think simply removing play calling from Waldron is enough, or does he need to be let go from the team?
If he's not calling plays, what the hell is he doing here? Like,
I mean, we've
there's
got
no
pass game
reason to keep.
coordinator, we've got quality control. I mean,
No, there's absolutely he needs to be fired. Like he
okay.
you the image of him laughing on the sideline yesterday while sitting on the bench, you know, one spot away from his quarterback who is visibly frustrated and doesn't like you could tell he's trying to figure out like what can I do here, and and it's just I'm done with him. It was Seattle. If you look back at the stuff from the Seattle fans, they were done with him last year. I would. I mean, there's all the stuff with him having the same agent as Poles and Eberflus. It and it's kind of crazy. Like just get rid of him. And what are you waiting for? Yeah, you said it. You delayed the press conference to come out and tell us nothing. What the hell is that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna come back to that in a second. Firefam said, I wonder if the coaches don't necessarily have the confidence and drive for the team, so the team doesn't feel great. That you know what that's possible. Firefam, I know you coach as well. Those kids pick up on, or in this case, these athletes, these grown ass men, these professional athletes, they will pick up on the leaders in that locker room. And if the leaders aren't doing it, then it's really easy. It's almost poisonous to a locker room, so you can lose that really quick. Along those lines, you mentioned the image of Waldron laughing, sitting right next to Williams while Williams, lays his head back and probably is dreaming about being anywhere else. Um, that ruffled a lot of feathers. It bothered a lot of people. It didn't bother me as much just because I can go back to like when my kids are really frustrated or when my athletes are really frustrated. A lot of times it's all right, what can I do in that moment to help lighten the load a little bit? And if I can get you to relax by laughing, maybe. I don't know if that's the time for it, but it definitely wasn't a good look at that point in time. And not knowing what was being said, I'm not going to get too worked up about it. Is what it is. If they were playing winning football and you saw that, it probably wouldn't have bothered you so much. But so let's say Waldron is dismissed, because I still think that's probably the most likely outcome here. What changes do you actually expect to see in this offense if Waldron moves on?
Well, I mean, you can't rebuild the offense in the middle of a season. That's the bad part. But maybe somebody can take, simplify where we're at rather than having 3 reads at the line of scrimmage. Simplify it down to here's what we're going to run. Um, you know, Obviously you always got to have some sort of audible, if something crazy gets shown there, but here's what we're going to run. Maybe we uh start splitting the field a little bit, for Caleb, move the pocket a little bit. If you can create a pocket, I don't know.
Right.
At this point, it it looks like there's tissue paper there on the offensive line. Um, and every now and then we see some things out of Tevin Jenkins that we like, but I think he's been hurt, injured, and come off the field in about 80% of the games that he's played this year.
Yep.
It's maddening.
Yeah, and it's got to be pretty hard when you're battling injuries to be like, no, I'm going to stick out here and fight when you're fighting for garbage, basically. You said it, and this was key, and this was another one of those clips that I had with Caleb Williams in his press conference, because they asked him point blank about this, like if Waldron is moved, what's going to happen? And he was like, they're not going to reinvent the wheel. Like we're mid season, we're getting ready to go. All of our divisional games, they're not going to reinvent the wheel here. The hope is that the play calling gets simplified, right? That's the only change that I can think of, because they're not going to all of a sudden completely switch identities, though I guess you'd have to have an identity to do that. But listen, here's the other thing that came out today. Flus was very adamant that the decision to make changes is on him, which sure makes it seem like Flus is sticking around. for better or worse. I think we know the answer to that one. Is there any change that they can make without removing the head coach that will turn this team around? Like, I mean, do you see one that would make you go, okay, no, I've got confidence in that they're going in the right direction?
No.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
that just
frankly, I don't. You've played the junior varsity schedule up to this point, and you're about to step up to Class 5A varsity level football against really freaking good teams with better talent and better coaching. We're about to get embarrassed for the next 7 games or whatever it is we have left. I mean, really, just don't get Caleb hurt. Don't ruin his
yep.
future. That's the way I feel about it right now.
That's I mean, as Bears fans, we're looking at this upcoming schedule. Obviously, we have our 6 divisional games. We also have a tilt against the Niners and the Seahawks. Basically, looking at we're not winning another game this season. I mean, that's if I'm looking at it from a realistic point of view, I don't have any confidence that we're going to win another game, which is sad because 3 weeks ago when we were talking, during the bye, it was like, okay, maybe we split a couple of these divisional games. Maybe we can make some noise. I just don't. I've lost all confidence at this point in time. Uh,
I really think without some sort of dead cat bounce that you would get by possibly firing Eberflus again. Maybe after losing, like I said, I think I brought this up last week. Maybe they keep him around, but they get pounded the next 3 games and really get embarrassed on Thanksgiving Day. Then they've got like a mini bye. That would be a spot to make a change. You'd have a couple extra days, just to kind of
yeah, because at that point in time, you're 4-8, right? You lose these
get
next 2 games,
reorganized.
you're gonna be 4-8. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't see a change that they can make without removing Flus right now that would, make the fire up. Again, because they're not going to reinvent the wheel with the offense, so I'm not foreseeing a huge change there outside of maybe making the play calling simple so that they can get in a better rhythm. But I don't think there's damage to hiring the head coach at this point in time either. Like I said, I've preached patience and continuity, but we've seen what it's going to be, and I hate again drafting a rookie QB and then not even giving them the year, honestly. But even if you give them the full year and then switching coaches, but clearly there's a bigger problem here that needs to be addressed. So
Well,
yeah,
I mean that goes back to last offseason, and obviously we weren't doing the show at that time, but we
yep,
had how many group chat discussions about it. That's kind of what spurred us to reignite this thing. But
yeah,
they 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 failed to make the decision last offseason that they should have made to have continuity with the new coaching staff, with the new quarterback, and things like that. So we're right back in this cycle. But
yep,
you can't keep going forward with it as it is. The answer is there for you when you look at the metrics of how historically bad some of these losses has been, how these losing streaks have been, how ill performing the team has been under this coaching staff. Uh, most and that all falls back to Matt Eberflus. So he's the head of it. He's hired these coordinators that have come in and failed.
yep,
It's at some point the buck has to stop with him. I mean, look, I have some sympathy for the guy. I'll tell you that. My basketball team here, we start off the season we're 0-4. So but I could tell you that I probably addressed the team uh, in a more serious and harsh manner after our 2 games that we played yesterday than the image that the Matt Eberflus puts out to players who are paid to be out on the field and give all their effort into this thing.
Well,
So
the assumed image, because we're not in the locker room, but I mean the assumption is based on what we see at the podium that it's just a very ho hum same
based
story.
on what we saw in Hard Knocks, based on the responses and the kind of feedback that you get from players in the media, I think that we've have enough evidence to see what his demeanor is. So
That's fair. I did find it interesting. Again, the players are being asked point blank about their coaches, and the difference, I will say, when they're asked about Waldron, they kind of skate around it a little bit. When they are asked about Flus, it is a much more direct of like, no, we haven't lost confidence. Like, no, I mean, Caleb actually laughed it off. Now, whether that was an uncomfortable, I don't want to answer this laugh off, you know, or what, but like it's been the same message of, you can kind of see when they ask about Waldron and the play calling, it's kind of like, we have to do a better job executing and paying attention to details. But when it comes to Flus, they are very much like, no, like he's our head coach. Like, so I do kind of wonder. Um,
well,
anyway, the
as they
person,
are all paid professionals, they know that
correct.
they're going to have to play for another coach who's paid to do that job at
That is
some
true.
point, and it's not smart to get out there and start trashing the organization that you're a part of.
Which
So
which kind of makes me like, I wonder sometimes as a media, as a journalist, like you're asking these questions, you're not getting answers to. Like,
right, but it's not always the words that come back at you that tell the
right,
story.
100%, 100%. The
So
the person that I'm really disappointed we haven't heard from at this point in time is Ryan Poles. Like,
yeah,
had today's press conference been pushed back and then opened up with Poles at the mic, I'd have been like, okay, this is being taken seriously. I haven't heard from Poles in weeks. Now, granted, I haven't been watching every press conference because frankly, it's depressing. But I want to know where Poles is. I want to hear his flat out take on this. And I don't think we'll ever get the honest behind closed doors take of it, but at least address it. Because Flus in his post game was like, listen, we're addressing everything from the top down. We're looking at everything. If that is true, then Poles should be involved in looking at whether the head coach should even still be there anymore.
yeah, and we don't. To be fair, we don't even know what the pecking order for decision making is to those levels. Does George McCaskey say yes, or do they have to ask for permission to 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 fire a coach? I mean,
Right.
if that's the case, it's ridiculous because he's said all along he's not a football guy.
Right.
They have a president um, of football or whatever his title is in Warren, and he's really, they said, not really supposed to be there to deal with football. He's there supposed to be to deal
Business.
with a
Yep.
stadium
Yep.
project that has seemingly made no progress.
Well, I mean, if you're a city right now, do you want that team anywhere near you? I
Oh
mean,
man, I mean,
Fire Fam says it makes you wonder if the coaches are clashing. Very well could be. Very could well be that uh, Waldron is saying, "Hey, I need you to get up there. I'm giving you the freedom to make these checks at the line and make these reads, and you need to be able to turn it loose." And then, but Flus is in his ear saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's be really conservative with the ball," or vice versa, or however you want to look at it. But it's highly possible. Anytime you're in a situation where you're being coached by more than one coach, you're going to have conflict usually. So it is highly possible and a good point. All right, yeah, I mean, do you have anything else we don't need to beat this horse
no, I mean, this
anymore.
is like the weekly. I think this is like our weekly therapy session where we just
Yeah, let's get
air
it
it
off of
out,
our chest.
and you're finally getting you
Yeah,
you've been so let's take our time, and I'm not saying that you're wrong for that.
yeah.
I'm not.
Nah, I was sticking together
You've
for the
always
kids,
been
dude.
more conservative than I am when it comes to putting some stronger opinions out. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But now that we're in the same page, kind of here, it's hard
Right.
to first of all, it's more interesting when we have differing opinions, but uh, it's yeah, no, it we did this thinking today, oh, this afternoon, there was going to be some sort of answer, and there's still no freaking answer, and that's what makes it even more frustrating
Yeah.
that they cannot come out and make a decision, and that screams to me that it's a problem with your leadership. Also,
Right.
it's right in front of you, but you're afraid to make that change. So
Yeah, I was just going through my Twitter notifications to see if they had announced anything, and still nothing. Really freaking disappointing. Listen, I still have reservations, if I'm being honest, about firing another head coach, especially midseason and when we still have a rookie QB. But like I said, we've seen enough that like at some point in time, like you either learn from your history, right, or you're doomed to repeat it. I'm pretty sure that's a saying. So
the definition of
yeah,
insanity is doing the same thing over and
yep,
over and thinking that you will get a different result.
yep. Although to that notion, that means we should kind of, in a way, keep our head coach past
Or we
the
should
1 year
fire
with the
him in
rookie.
mid-season, which we've never done before.
That's fair. Those are your choices. Uh, all right, so we do have 2 home games coming up: Green Bay, and Minnesota. They're coming to town over the next 2 weeks, and then we have a Thanksgiving Day matchup against the Lions. All I'm thinking about is food that day. Expectations for those games are obviously very low now. What are you hoping to see from this team as we go into next week against the Packers, just aside from some coaching changes?
Um, well,
I mean,
I'm
I see you have
hoping.
that on there. I mean, run with it. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the hopefully we do have somebody new calling plays, and they're putting together some sort of plan that keeps the quarterback healthy, which means quicker throws, running the ball. Maybe maybe something. Maybe just maybe if there's one play call at the line of scrimmage, the offensive linemen will know what they're supposed to do and hold up a little bit better. So that's at this point we can only hope for to see some progress. Eh, if we're gonna keep losing, let's put Roma Dunze in the 2 wide receiver sets. I mean,
Yep.
I don't. I think at this point we talked about it that last week. Before the trade deadline, uh, maybe that Keenan Allen could be uh, short for this team anyway. So maybe he's the odd man out. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm with you. Listen, I mean, you touched on it. Quicker plays, designed to get players open, and that's my big thing. Designed to get your players open. They kept showing on the broadcast like nobody's open, and I'm sitting there going, no, you make those throws. Uh, you make those throws, but all these other teams can scheme to get one of their players open. Why are we not doing it? Or why are we expecting it to take 3 seconds when we can't block for more than 2? Like, so let's make that happen quicker. Let's get the ball out faster. Some of those, again, were Caleb just holding on to the ball too long, which we kind of knew going into it. And he's a rookie. That's a normal thing. Here's the big one for me. I want to see this team come out and set a tone, be physical, or at least attempt to set a tone. These are divisional games against longtime rivals. If you can't get up for these games, you have no business being on the field. If you are a Chicago Bear and you cannot get up and give everything you have to play against the Packers, to play against the Vikings, to play against the Lions, you have no business putting on that uniform.
I mean, look, the Packers are coming out of a bye, coming to Soldier Field. They're a 6.5 point favorite, and I'm seriously considering placing one of the largest bets I've ever placed on the Packers -6.5.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the way.
Because unless there's an injury, that line's just going to get bigger. So you bet it now. I
Right.
mean,
I mean, it hasn't moved yet.
you know,
I don't know if they're waiting to see what happens with
the coaching,
the coaching for the Bears, but
that is fair.
the line has not
Um,
moved yet. So
Well, that leads us in. Do you have any tales of a degenerate first this week, or we jumping straight into our bad calls?
I'll run it down real quick. My super contest picks went 3-2. Um, Vikings covered the 4.5. Bucks covered the 5.5. Bills covered the -4, and Lions did not cover the 3.5, nor the 4.5 that I placed a decent wager on last night. Unfortunately, um, and the Chiefs managed to win, but they did not cover the 8. So 3-2 there. That puts me back at dead even on the year. And then for my 4 to score, let's just get this out of the way. I put Roma Dunze in there, and obviously the Bears did not even sniff the end zone yesterday. So that one was the killer because I got the other 3 right, which kind of frustrating. I at least wanted a chance, like, oh, can he get a target in the red zone or something like that? But it became apparent that as that game went on, their chances were getting worse and worse, and they had good field position all day long. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So it was. I did college basketball started back this week, and the bets that I've placed on them on those games have allowed me to rebuild the bankroll a little bit. So hopefully I can keep doing well in college basketball or hit something tonight.
There you go. Yep, we do have got ourselves a game tonight. I'm counting on Tyreek Hill to play, or I'm going to have another fantasy loss. But it looks like they activated River Craycraft from IR, so that may not be a thing. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the signature bad call of the week. I'll let you go ahead and go first, buddy, because this is entertaining.
Oh man, Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, another team that is just as dysfunctional as our beloved Bears. Um, but at least Jerry seems to take an active interest in trying to make his team better. He's just not good at it.
For better or worse. Yeah.
For better or worse. And he built this massive stadium outside of Dallas. And I haven't been in it, but I've seen it from the road, and the thing is enormous. Um, and you watch the Thanksgiving Day games there. There's some college games there, and you know what? That stadium was built so that when that mid-afternoon sun starts to come in, it starts shining through that window, and it's right in the freaking end zone. And his players can't even see the damn ball. It's ridiculous. The stadium, the screen, the big jumbotron in there is something to see. It's awesome, but when asked why he doesn't put the drapes down or the curtains in, so that it doesn't, he just he's like, well, that's I don't you think I knew that that's what was gonna happen? It was just some real funny defensive backpedaling by Jerry Jones on this issue, and the video of CeeDee Lamb breaking wide open in the end zone and the pass coming towards him, and he doesn't even know that it's coming at him, and it just kind of falls to the ground. It's kind of a metaphor for the season that the Cowboys are having this year as well.
Right. Yep. 100%. Yeah. Him going crotchety old man answering the question is very entertaining as always. You've gotten, you're always guaranteed to get some sort of good Jerry take, but when they're losing and struggling like they are, they're real spicy. It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Very, very entertaining. All right. So we're gonna go back to Thursday Night Football for my bad call again. They're consistent.
That's the only game of the week you watch.
I'll give them that. Listen, my bad call was honestly going to be Ryan Poles for not addressing the offensive line at all, really. But I decided that we had spent enough time down in the dumps on this one. So, yes, this happened in Thursday Night Football, but it kind of goes back to a bigger picture of what I've been talking about before. So, let's start with the Ravens for not being able to cover Jamar Chase at all that game. That was just absolutely insane. What do you have, like 11 catches, 264, and 3 touchdowns? Just, I mean, insane. At some point in time, you roll double, triple coverage, whatever, make them beat you someplace else. Then the Bengals for going for 2. I understand you play for the win, but like make them beat you, tie it up, and make them beat you. What's worse is you call a timeout so that you got a read on the defense, right? No, you get up there, you've got the momentum, do it, right? As soon as you call that timeout for me, all that momentum you had just went straight out the window. But then you go underneath to your tight end instead of right in the hot hand, maybe looking for Jamar Chase, doing something there. I understand there's a little bit of trickery, but maybe you outsmarted yourself. And then finally, I got the refs again. I have into my notes clear holding. I went back and watched that video a couple times. The holding, okay, like sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. But there was clear, forcible contact to the helmet of Burrow. All right. I think I have this. Let's see. Let's see if I actually have this one pulled up. Let's see if it'll play.
Throw the 2-point conversion. Oh,
okay.
Wow.
So they'll run through this again, and you can see just clear, forcible. Yeah, just like, hey, what just happened? That was a hand in my face.
There, he just kind of grabbed his. Wow.
Okay, so he gets thwapped in the face pretty good. Clear, forcible contact. Does not get called. Obviously, not reviewable. There was no score that happened, yada, yada, yada. It was an attempted scoring play. It had a direct impact on the outcome of that game. The booth, New York, whoever should be involved when the game is on the line to make sure the call is correct. And again, I'm not talking about subjective calls, but this is clear as day. It's the same as having a face mask and yanking Sam Darnold's head to the, like, it's inexcusable to have the ability to fix this and not fix it.
Yeah, no, that's a face mask. 11 Sundays out of 11, that's a face mask. And
unnecessary roughness. You can't contact the quarterback in the head.
There's a referee who is supposed to be watching the quarterback and what's happening to the quarterback, and his helmet moves on his head, which tells you absolutely that somebody made contact with it. Yep. It was pretty egregious, and you feel kind of bad for the Bengals. They've had a rough start to the year. They've had 2 fantastic, exciting games to watch against the Ravens this year. They just were not able to pull one out. And I understand why they went for 2 in that situation, because they had not been able to stop the Ravens since the start of the second half. So,
well, and they lost in overtime to them already once this year, right? So you're like, no, we're not doing that again. I get it, but if you're gonna go for it to you right away, don't call a timeout. Let their defense rest and get a read on you too. Like,
yeah, and tell me, thanks. First of all, thanks for bringing up that Jamar Chase game. I went in my season-long fantasy. I went against Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. So I started out the week 98-5 after Thursday night's game.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was never going to happen for me this week. But I forgot that I have 2 best ball teams in the big DraftKings $20 multi-million contest, and I had looked at those a few times in the first few weeks of the season, and I was like dead last in one of them, and I was like 10th out of 12 in the other one. And I looked at them yesterday and this morning, and it just so happens that I've now got up into the top 2 in one of them, which puts me in the money and advancing position to this point. There's still some weeks left. And in the other one, I may be after the end of tonight in that, well, and both of those teams, I have Jamar Chase to thank for that. So
Nice. Big
little
time.
bit of hope there in those.
Excellent. Well, good luck to you on that going forward. Before we get out of here, buddy, you got any other final thoughts?
No, I want to echo what you started the show off. Thank you again to all of our veterans. I have several veteran friends, and nothing makes me prouder than pumping them up on days like this, because it certainly is part of the great nation that we live in, even though the media might tell us otherwise sometimes.
Yeah, don't need to go political, obviously. So again, I'm going to echo that again. If it wasn't for all you veterans, we wouldn't be able to do this. Uh, while other people might thank you for stopping us from being able to do this, we certainly enjoy it. Again, we thank you so much for joining us today or watching it whenever you're watching it. Please make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button, following us on social media at Another Bad Call. Until next time, try to avoid making another bad call.